How do you auction? Thousands and thousands of things go into it, from perspective of the seller, from perspective of the agent, from perspective of the buyer. We're going to cover some inside topics today to make you better at an auction. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Lisa Novak, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye.
Hello, goodbye. I've got my auction hat on. Actually, I have another auction hat, but I don't have it with me at the moment. And it says "Make auctions great again." I love it. It was
It's the
sent
red,
from
the red,
from
the
a very
red Donald,
well-known auctioneer.
the red Donald Trump hat. I love that hat.
Yeah, I love it too. It actually sits on my desk. But I've got the "Hello, Goodbye" BUY hat, which I felt was quite appropriate this morning. Especially I haven't done my hair yet either, so it's perfect.
No, you've jumped on last minute, to be honest.
Yeah. Quickly, like
Uh,
slapped on a face and whacked on a hat, and we're all good.
You're the backup girl. You're the
Yeah.
backup singer. So Lisa, auctions. Why did you want to talk about auctions today?
It's quite a funny topic for me to talk about because I don't opt for my vendors to do a lot of auctions. I actually don't. I don't believe. Don't come at me, guys. This is just this is the way I run my campaigns, and we pretty much do as an office. But it hasn't really been much of an auction market the last probably 18 months. It hasn't been a roaring hot market. The market's been very, very stable. And we have had some phenomenal results out of running private treaty. And, with that, if we have had multiple offers come in, which we have at times, I run what's called a best and fairest. It used to be allowed to be called a silent auction, but we can't call it that anymore. It's called a best and fairest. So, and that's where we call everyone's highest offers, absolute walkaway, best offers, and their terms and conditions to us, closed envelope via a text or whatever it may be, email, and it's highly confidential by a cut-off time. Why auctions today? Mark, we have got a massive auction on Saturday down at number 5 Marine Parade on Manly Oceanfront. You'd have to be hiding under a rock if you haven't seen this property. It's probably one of the most iconic properties on the Northern Beaches. Would you agree?
Oh, it is. It's magical. It's absolutely magical, and the inquiry rates on the property have been astonishing. The interest on the property has been astonishing. The location is astonishing. There's nothing about this place that's just not incredible. So it's really been a hot contender for people.
It is. It is an amazing property. I agree. So, and the building itself is over 100 years old. So it's down on what we call the Ferry Bower, right on that ocean front there in Manly. Phenomenal. That's it there, right
It's the
there.
one. It's the one you can see
Um,
the Novak on the roof there. So
yeah,
it's the hottest part of the northern beaches. It's north facing. It's Manly. It's on the ocean, on the beach. It's just it's just magical.
it
Um,
is. It is. It's what I call a unicorn.
she's
It's what I
old.
call a unicorn. So it's the whole building. It's sitting on about a 310-meter squared block. So it's only a small block, but it is a commercial slash residential zoning. So the mind just goes crazy with what you could actually do there. Is it apartments? Is it a hotel? Could you turn it into maybe some sort of a luxury home with a commercial element? We recognise it needs a lot of work. It is on church land. It's on Catholic church land, what we call leasehold. And actually, throughout the campaign, it's amazed me how many people actually don't understand what leasehold is. That's probably a topic for another morning minutes, I think.
Sure.
Leasehold versus
Yeah,
freehold.
that's
That's a good one.
juicy.
Yeah,
So these people are prepping for this auction today, being Wednesday. They've got 2 days more to prep for the auction. Their solicitors, buyers' solicitors, are talking to the seller's solicitor. They're reviewing contracts. They're moving money around, getting money ready for their 10% deposit and their purchase. Um, what are the tips as an agent that you're going to be giving buyers in the next 2 days? Like you're obviously going to be the people that are keen, that are going to be bidding. You're going to be having some conversations. What sort of tips are you going to be giving them?
Well, someone came up to me yesterday. I was actually had a private appointment down there, and someone came up to me yesterday and said, "What do you think it's going to go for?" Really difficult answer from a real estate agent who's taking a property to auction, because we receive from the vendor what's called a reserve price, which is a confidential price, and that's given to us in a hard copy format. Usually just sometimes moments before the auction, usually within 24 hours. But it's a confidential price. It's the minimum amount that a vendor will sell for on the day. So, how did I respond to that lovely person who asked me that? I said, I'm not really in the betting game. I'm in the real estate game. We've had an auction guide on the property of 10 to 11 million. So I'd be thinking, if you've got that sort of money or more, you might want to come down and pop your hand up.
Because if someone says, "What do you think?" your thoughts are constructed with confidential information as well. So that's probably not something that you could share in terms of a number, to be honest, because if you're discussing a reserve price, you have knowledge of reserve price, and then you're giving your thoughts on what it's going to sell for. As a seller, I wouldn't be happy you telling people what you think.
No,
Um,
no.
so
And
it's you are a bit torn as a real estate agent, and it really annoys buyers. It bloody annoys buyers. But I think you just have your buyer's guide. That's it. Full stop. Aim in.
And that's exactly right. This one, we have had an auction guide of 10 to 11 million throughout the campaign. But, we cannot be held responsible for what a property may sell for on the day. I mean, many of you guys will remember a property that I sold, number 2 Riddell Street in Manly.
Oh yeah,
It was also one of the most iconic properties in Manly. And that went to auction about 2 years ago now. It sat above the Surf Lifesaving Club in Manly. It actually broke the record per square metres. It was a 400 metre squared property, and
yeah.
that sold at auction for 21.5 million. Now, if I was to put a price guide on that, which was really hard because there were no other houses around there and this faced right gun barrel looking down the beachfront, I would have said, probably 16 to 17 mil, but the property sold for 21.5 million. So, we can't control what the market does. And not to say that's the case on Saturday. We just don't know, right? We just don't know. But that is a good realistic guide, 10 to 11 mil. So what should you be doing in the lead up to an auction? Now here we are a few days out. The contract should be getting reviewed by your solicitor. Any requested amendments to the contract, which is a normal part of the process, that should be taking place now. And that gets done via your solicitor to the vendor's solicitor. And any agreed amendments, that all should be agreed upon in preparation for the auction. We then receive what those agreed amendments are so that we can correlate that contract for you. Everyone's requested amendments usually can differ. So we might have, hypothetically, we might have 3 contenders, all with different agreed amendments. And so we need 3 different varieties of contracts, each one for those purchases. We never know who's going to be buying on the day.
And also, this is an opportunity where a buyer can get their terms and they can make the purchase more comfortable for themselves by these requests. So, use a bit of engineering, ingenuity, a bit of smarts if you're a buyer to, get it in your favour.
And you can ask whatever you
Settlement
want.
time, whatever.
You honestly, everything is agreeable everything is possible by mutual agreement. A lot of people don't realize that. Settlement terms, even if on the front page of a contract it says the standard settlement of 42 days, 6 weeks, you can request 12 months,
Yeah.
right? The vendor can just turn around and say, no, we won't do 12 months, but we're open to doing a 4-month settlement. So,
Quick question.
it's all by mutual agreement. The other thing is you need to make sure that you've got your 10% ready, or any other amount that has been previously agreed upon. We see a lot of 5% deposits these days. That must be agreed upon in preparation for auction day. That needs to go through your solicitor as well.
In writing.
Has to be in writing. Yes. Must be in writing. There's no point coming, on the day you put your hand up, the hammer falls in your favor, and you're like, I've only got $10,000. There's
Yep.
not a huge amount we can do about it at that time, right?
No.
Just on that, if the hammer does fall and you are the highest bidder and you are the successful purchaser, you need to be signing that contract immediately. It is an
Yep.
unconditional sale. There is no cooling off period,
And
and you need to make
just
sure
to
your
note,
deposit's ready.
just to note on that, we're one of the only countries in the world that does this.
Correct.
So that process of you bid to buy and you can't back out, not subject to finance, not subject to building, not subject to selling your property, not subject to anything. We're one of the only countries in the world that do that. I think we're one of three.
Wow. We must
Mm.
chat GPT that
Yep.
and find out. So, you do need to have your deposit ready on the day. A lot of people forget to lift their bank balances. They're like, oh, I've got a $20,000 limit and I won't be able to transfer the rest until the next day. No good.
Yep. No good.
You need to make sure you got your deposit ready. Usually these days, most agencies have got obviously EFT, electronic funds transfer, direct into a trust account. It goes into a sales trust account. Or we've got deft payment these days, which is a direct payment through to the nominated bank account, sales trust account. And the limits are much, much higher.
Lisa, before we go, is there any other quick tips for auctions you can give buyers, sellers, or agents?
Yes, if you are looking to bid on behalf of someone or to phone bid, there is documentation that is required around that. You need to let your agent know. It's absolutely fine, but there is a document that does need to be filled out in preparation for that. And also, you've just got to remember, guys, like have fun. Just, you've got to enjoy the process. I see people coming into auctions sometimes and they're just, a nervous wreck. I get it. Sellers, buyers, the agent is there, the auctioneer is there to help you guys. You can speak to
Yeah.
the auctioneer prior if you want to, as a seller. And that's gold, actually. Vic LaRusso's our auctioneer that we use 99.99% of the time. He's
Yep.
always available to take a phone call to chat with a nervous seller if required.
Do you know what my best advice is?
Tell me,
For people
Mark, what's your
that
best
are
advice?
buying or selling through an auction is belly to belly. Make a auction meeting with your agent in their office. Free. Turn up for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and ask the agent a million questions, belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, and have a good old fashioned chat. If you need it, do it. It's free. And I've got to say, I suggest that even for people when they're making an offer to buy a property in general, you will get so much more out of a one-on-one with a human than doing it over a phone call or an SMS or an email or through a lawyer. So a good old fashioned belly to belly. If someone called you up today, Lisa, and said, I want to buy this 10 or $11 million property, have you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes for me to pop in the office and have a chat, give me some tips for the auction? You'd say,
120%. We've got all the answers. The only
yeah,
answer we don't have is what the property's going to sell for on the day. We don't know. That we don't
unfortunately.
know.
Yeah,
It'd be much easier if we had the crystal ball, but we don't.
we don't. We don't. Lisa, thank you. Anything
Pleasure.
else you want to add? Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, hello, goodbye. Just finally, because I know everyone is talking about it. I know we did at coffee this morning, Mark, for our breakfast coffee. Interest rates, now the final of the four banks is saying yes, they're going to come down next week. Let's wait and see what happens. I heard that NAB have already dropped their rate by 0.25. I think
I'm
that's
sick
on their
of
fixed
hearing about
rate.
it. I'm sick of hearing about it. It's everywhere, and it's like, okay, I know, but it's like it's
I
so
know,
consuming.
but
It is.
it is. But I think there's
It's
some
big.
excitement out there. There's definitely
Yeah,
some excitement out there. Hopefully, it'll give a bit of relief to people, much needed relief to people. So let's wait and see what they do next Tuesday at the RBA meeting. Let's wait and see.
big time. Have a great
That's it.
day.
I got to get ready for open. See you guys.
Hey guys, cheers, bye.
Bye.